Hello there and thank you for watching this week's Weatherquest farming forecast. Well, it's been a bit of a mixed picture over the past couple of weeks. We've seen a few periods where we've had 2 or 3 dry days in a row, but these have generally been interspersed with a couple of days where there's been a few showers or spells of rain. Now, a lot of people have been calling in trying to get a cut of hay done over the past couple of weeks, and obviously it's been really tricky where they're not really being 4 or 5 days completely dry in a row. There's always been a little bit of patchy nuisance rain at times. So we're going to take a look at the potential for getting any hay cut over the next week or so. First though, just a reminder that you can speak directly to one of our forecasters between 6 AM and 6 PM 7 days a week on 09065 777675. Calls are charged at £1.55 a minute plus any network access charges. And our forecasters will be able to give you a forecast for your location, conveying any uncertainty from any of the latest models that are coming in and information. So it's really great to give them a call if you've got any questions regarding any aspects of the forecast. So first up, taking a look at the jet stream. This is the jet stream Tuesday night into Wednesday. You can see that jet stream diving southwards across the UK, bringing a bit of patchy rain through Wednesday. But as that front clears to the southeast, we generally get this ridge of high pressure building in. There's not a huge amount of jet stream activity during the middle part, the end of this week. By the weekend, you can see that trough developing over Iceland, pushing that area of jet stream and some frontal activity into northwestern parts of the British Isles. So potentially turning a bit more unsettled for a time into the weekend. So looking at a slightly more detailed forecast, this is how things are likely to stand by the end of Tuesday and overnight into Wednesday. Got that area of high pressure out to the southwest of the British Isles. That's ridging in across many places, but you can see this little area of rain across northwestern Scotland, slowly sliding southeastwards, bringing generally a cloudy day for many places, on and off spells of patchy light rain and drizzle for Scotland and then down into England, particularly further east in England later in the day. So a little bit of a wet day on Wednesday, but overnight into Thursday, that high pressure still stays out to the southwest and actually begins to ridge further in, building, leading to a largely dry day on Thursday across the south after any odd showers or spots of rain clear on Thursday morning. You can see there that front becoming a bit more developed as it moves into northwestern Scotland and parts of Northern Ireland. And overnight Thursday into Friday, that continues to push southeastwards, reaching parts of southern and central and eastern England during Saturday before it then clears out to the southeast at some point on Sunday morning. So it does turn a little bit unsettled on Saturday across the south as well. But you can see there is always high pressure out to the west, southwest, trying to ridge in as that front then moves away to the southeast. In terms of spraying, obviously with the high pressure building out to the southwest, there is some opportunities over the next few days. It is a little bit limited on Wednesday with that patchy rain and a bit more of a breeze, but through Thursday and Friday you can see a lot of these green colours, the green colours indicating ideal spraying conditions, so no rain and generally light winds. But by the weekend, as that front comes southwards, does it like opportunities will be slightly more limited for the back end of the week and the weekend. So how are things looking like they'll stand during the early part of next week? Well, this is just a snapshot of what things could look like for Monday, Tuesday. That high pressure centred near the Azores continuing to ridge in to the British Isles and across parts of France and Spain as well, generally across Western Europe. So generally bringing dry conditions. You can see that bit of a northwesterly flow down the North Sea could drive a few convergence driven showers down the east coast of Scotland, eastern England, southeast England during Monday, Tuesday time. So it is worth watching out for the chance of an odd shower in the east, but the best of the dry weather will be further southwest, closer to the centre of that area of high pressure. Now, during next week, this is a comparison for rainfall between Norwich, obviously in the east, and Yeovil in Somerset, obviously in the southwest. So you can see generally up until the weekend, amounts for both places are going to be quite small. There is that rain that comes through on Saturday and into Sunday, which does cause a bit of a pain really if you're wanting to get a cut of hay, and it splits up that drier weather at the back end of this week and the drier weather during the start of next week as well. So it does split up that with that bit of rain on Saturday. But you can see during the early part of next week, generally it looks like it's going to be fairly dry. You can see the comparison with these two places though. showers that I mentioned potentially down the east coast. You can see in the Norwich one here, there's a few more spikes of on and off spells of showers during Monday, Tuesday, perhaps into Wednesday as well. So there is the risk of seeing a few showers the further east you are. As I mentioned, further southwest, there is the odd hint at an odd shower, but generally it looks like that's where the best of the drier weather be, and it could be that from Sunday through until sort of Wednesday, Thursday, most places could stay dry. Now, it's not out of the question that further east, for example, in Norwich as well, it could stay dry right the way through that period, but there is just a higher chance of catching a couple of showers. So a bit more risky if you're wanting to get a cut of hay in the further east you are during next week. You can see by the end of next weekend and into the week after though, generally both locations seeing a little bit more rainfall. It does look like it will turn slightly more unsettled as we move towards the early part of August. Now, in between those two times, by the end of next week, really from Thursday onwards, there is a considerable amount of uncertainty really as to how quickly this front will spread from the from the northwest. So these are two different models' ideas of how things might stand on Thursday lunchtime. The model on the left, keeping that rain out to the northwest and keeping high pressure ridged over most of the British Isles, particularly further south, keeping things dry. The model on the right, bringing that rain in much more quickly. By Thursday lunchtime, it's already getting rain into northern England, Wales, southwestern England, and then Thursday night into Friday pushes that into East Anglia and parts of southeast England as well. So the timings of this front are really going to affect the potential for getting a cut of hay in next week. Obviously, if it's the scenario on the left, it's going to stay dry through Thursday before it does then look like into the weekend it will turn a bit more unsettled. Both models generally going for that by the weekend. But in that scenario on the left, it looks like you could end up with Sunday through Thursday being pretty much dry, apart from the odd chance of a shower, as I mentioned a few moments ago. If that rain comes in a bit sooner, it's going to make it just that bit trickier to get 4 or 5 days dry in a row. So it's really worth keeping an eye on the forecast for the back end of next week, and wouldn't be surprised if we see slight changes in how all the different models are handling how quickly that rain comes in. So it's really worth keeping an eye on the forecast for the end of next week if you are considering trying to get a cut of hay in during next week. In terms of a bit longer ahead, this here is the chance of seeing a dry day for a number of counties and areas across the UK. You can see obviously in the northwest we've got various fronts coming in next week, and then for the next couple of weeks after, pretty much most of the rest of July, there's going to be on and off spells of rain. So relatively low chances of seeing dry days the further north and west you are. But in the south, obviously through the back end of this week and then into next week, that chance of a dry day is highlighted fairly well. You can see on Saturday there is a slightly lower chance of seeing dry weather as that front comes through. But beyond that, through that week, reasonably well signalled chances of a dry day, but by the weekend after, from the 24th, 25th, 26th of July, slightly lower confidence there. Like I say, the uncertainty surrounding that front coming through is going to lead to slightly tricky forecasting the weather through that couple of days. But generally after that, the further southeast you are, still hints of good chance of a dry day. Beyond that, especially for southeast England and parts of eastern England as well, there's medium to high chances of dry days. So during that period, there could be opportunities for cutting hay. It's just a question of whether they'll come in 4 or 5 day dry periods or interspersed with a bit of rain as well. So going to be quite tricky, I think, at times, but there could be some opportunities for making hay in and amongst. So you can get a lot more information like that, as well as a detailed 10-day forecast for your location, get probability forecasts for going out for the next 10 days or so, as well as our 4-week monthly forecast on our online agricultural farming portal. If you're interested in giving that a try and seeing what's available on there, you can get a 2-week free trial by dropping us an email at info@weatherquest.co.uk. So that'd be really helpful in terms of planning for the short term, as well as seeing the outlook for the longer term for your location and the rest of Europe and the UK as well. So looking ahead for the next 4 weeks or so, this is the mean pressure anomaly during next week. As I mentioned earlier, we've got that higher pressure ridging in from the southwest, and that's generally going to bring fairly settled conditions across most of the UK as well as most of the European continent as well. You can see these brown colours showing drier than average conditions, so that's below average rainfall. Many places seeing that. The only places really where it looks like it could be wetter than average are northern and northwestern parts of Scandinavia, as well as northwestern parts of Scotland and Ireland as well, with just those areas of frontal rain coming around the northern edge of that high, leading to a bit more rainfall there. But elsewhere, generally drier than average, I should say, across the rest of Europe. In terms of temperatures, above average temperatures in that southerly flow in Spain, France, some parts of Central Europe, but elsewhere actually looks like it will be cooler than average, with high pressure out to the southwest and low pressure out to the northeast. We do get a northwesterly flow, and that does bring in cooler air to the UK, Scandinavia, spreading further southeast in Europe by the end of the week. So it will generally be cooler than normal for much of Europe. Now, into the last week of July and into the first part of August, we do see this more active westerly jet stream develop across the British Isles and into central northern Europe. And these blue colours here showing generally lower than average pressure, so that's suggesting more unsettled period for that last week of July. And you can see that reflected in the rainfall anomaly as well. Those green colours across Scandinavia, parts of northern Europe, parts of northern Germany, Poland, and the British Isles as well, generally showing above average rainfall or close to average rainfall as various areas of low pressure push rain through at times. Still out to the south across the Mediterranean, high pressure ridging in, leading to generally below average rainfall for many places in the south as well. And as well as that, temperatures generally above average across much of southern and some parts of central Europe. With the jet to the north of the jet stream, across northern and some central parts of Europe, we do see then cooler than average temperatures as a bit more of an unsettled flavour spreads in. So cooler than average across the British Isles, parts of Scandinavia, around the Baltic Sea, and into Eastern Europe as well. Now, into the first and second week of August, not a huge amount of change. There's still hints of lower than average pressure to the north of Europe, and that generally continues to bring slightly above average rainfall across Scandinavia, parts of the Baltic states, northern Europe, and potentially northern parts of the British Isles as well. In this situation, the UK is slightly in between. To the north, we've got the wetter than average conditions, slightly more unsettled, but you can see further south, particularly around the Mediterranean, high pressure still ridging in, and that could just extend a bit further north into the UK as well. So a bit tricky for the UK into that last period. It is in between the higher pressure to the south and the more unsettled conditions further north. Temperature wise though, still warmer than average across southern Europe, still tending to be cooler than average the further north you are, particularly across parts of Scandinavia and the British Isles as well, as we still see a bit of a northwesterly flow with cooler air coming into these locations. So to summarise, for the rest of this week and into next week, a few occasional spells of rain in the south, but otherwise largely dry with some spells of sunshine, although of course there will be more frequent spells of rain in the north and west. There is the potential for making some hay next week, but keep a close eye on the forecast, particularly for the end of next week, due to uncertainties with how quickly that front comes in. But potential for seeing some a cut of hay, particularly if you are further southwest, away from those showers that are possible on Monday and Tuesday as well. And then towards August, there are hints of more unsettled weather, with temperatures generally turning cooler than average as well. So thanks for watching this week's video. As ever, you can keep on top of the forecast for the UK and East Anglia on our social media, and you can also listen to our daily podcast for East Anglia on our website.